Apples, 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 apples.
And this is my McNally's Apple review. Now, this was a very expensive Apple product. This is actually a SweeTango. Sorry, not a SweeTango, a SweeTango. There's only one T, so you can't pronounce it. And even though this is the most expensive Apple, they put the labeling on the bottom in a weird spot for some reason. This apple is, while you cannot patent apple genes forever, you can trademark a name. So it's like Foster Farms chickens are only grown on Foster Farms. So SweeTango comes from certain nurseries that are approved. So you'll find this to be one of the more expensive apple products on the market. It comes from the University of Minnesota. I believe they also produced Honeycrisp, and then this is an offshoot of Honeycrisp. Honeycrisp they no longer own the patent on and control the rights, but this they do. So it's got a little bit of blush, as you can see, and it's got a nice little kind of Starry Night pattern, as I like to see, that doesn't really pick up well on the camera. Maybe if I get it real close, yeah, you can see it there. Starry Night pattern. It's all kind of speckly. It's actually really light on the other side and very pale. It actually goes to a white or a yellow. Yeah, I'm under weird gray lighting, so it's not the best. It has no smell to speak of. I kind of expected a expensive apple to be fragrant or something. Let's see. It appears nice. It's actually on the smaller side. I guess when you're going on price, that might be a thing. So let's get a slice. Oh, it's juicy. It is spraying all over. This might be one you don't want to use a knife on. You want to just bite into it and get all that juice. It'll probably go all over your face. Oh man, this is quite the juicy apple. Well, I can get a big slice out of this. Alright, come on, pop out of there. There we go. Nice and crisp. It adheres to the core pretty well. It is just pale white flesh. There's a little bit of coloration underneath that peel there. So let's see how this tastes. So is it worth being 3 times more expensive than any other Apple product on the market? It's really sweet, but it's balanced out by, it's got it's also kind of sour. So it's like eating let's say a Honeycrisp and a Granny Smith at the same time, like if you popped a slice of both in your mouth. So it tastes really bright. I would describe the flavor as a very bright tasting apple. Not a huge fan of Granny Smith, so this is actually not worth the price to me. But for some people, having a really juicy apple grown under very exacting circumstances, so you know every apple is going to be roughly the same, you're not going to get a bad apple in the bunch. I think this is a pretty good product. I don't know. I'm going to stick to my regular off-brands. You know, I'm not fully I'm not a huge let's say Apple convert, buying the most expensive Apple products. But this one's pretty good. But really, they spent all that money and they can't get that label right. Let's see how the label tastes. Well, that label was... that label's pretty good. So, I'm going to say, to rate this apple, because there's not much in the way of the core. You can get a lot of eating out of this apple, actually, because I've seen some where it's kind of a mess and the seeds aren't tight. The seeds are all over, so you can't eat as much. So there's actually some value in this apple in that you can eat most of the whole thing. You can probably eat this one right down to tiny little piece of core. So value, I'm still gonna say because of the price, it's bad. Flavor, that's a 4. That's a 4 for me. But that's just my personal. If you like a tangier, sourer apple, super sweet and super sour at the same time, you've got the, I think, greatest amounts I've tasted in both at the same time. No smell. In fact, now that I cut it open on the inside, it kind of smells like raw pumpkin. Not pumpkin spice, not like a latte, but like a raw pumpkin. When you crack open a raw pumpkin, that's what it smells like. So gourd of some sort. No, there you go. So, final rating is probably 4 out of 5. Would not buy again. I rather have many substandard apples than one good apple that cost, all the. But that's just me. If you want just really one really good apple, go for the SweeTango. Yeah, pretty decent. All right, thanks for watching. You have gestures do not work when the camera's placed like that. All right. Well, you have a good time then. All right. Goodbye.
Apples, 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 apples.